Hello, it's Aenslee Tanner here. I'm back with another video for you. This time we're going to dive into salary negotiation. Now, I've talked about negotiation before in the past, and that was a lot more, I think, what I consider kind of beginner stuff. So if you haven't already seen that and you're new to negotiation, I'd recommend you head on over to YouTube, search for my name and negotiation in the search bar. And you'll be able to find videos that I've done previously with a simple script to, if you've never done negotiation before, very gentle entry that you can use to start a negotiation process, as well as a video on how to do salary research, which is an essential prerequisite step for engaging in any of these kind of more advanced approaches. So those are some resources for you that I highly recommend you check out, especially if you're new to this. Today in this video, it's probably going to go a little bit longer. I want to go more in depth and give you some more advanced kind of case studies, how to handle some trickier situations, and give you even more scripts once you've got your confidence up, things that you can deliver to help you in any negotiation you might have this year. I'm going to focus mostly on salary. And I want to just kind of come out and say right at the beginning that I can't guarantee anything that I'm going to share with you is going to work. The thing about negotiation is that you really have to feel out the situation that you're in. Okay, so you're going to be there with the person that you're negotiating with. You need to understand kind of what your relationship is with them, what it feels like, what the environment is, what kind of industry you're in. There are all sorts of things one needs to be aware of. I just want to give you that caveat so that you don't come back to me and say, hey, I tried one of your techniques, completely did not work. It's something you need to practice and get a feel for in order to know kind of what to use when to have the most effect. So my hope is just by sharing this that it will hopefully open up your mind a little bit more, give you some more options. Maybe you'll feel like you have a bit more flexibility, some different paths you can take that maybe you haven't explored before. That's my intention here. Like I say, I can't guarantee that anything will work completely for your situation, but I do hope you find it helpful. So I think where I'd like to start is just with a few tips for you in terms of how to approach negotiation, particularly around salary. One, if you need it at all, just the encouragement that before you sign a contract of any sort is your moment of highest leverage. So use it would be my encouragement for you, and make the ask before you put your name on the dotted line. It's much more difficult to arrange for a change in your income once you're already within an organization. Before you enter tends to be much easier. So just a little bit of encouragement for you to make the most of that moment. Now, negotiation kind of gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people have this perspective that it's kind of, a confrontation. It feels like you're confronting the person that you're negotiating with. But I'd encourage you to reframe that, to think of it as more of a dance, that you and your negotiation partner are looking for a win-win situation. Yeah. And so you want an agreement that's going to work best for both of you. It's in both your interests, and in the employer's interest that you're happy and satisfied as a staff member, and in your interest that that way they can keep you around for longer, right? They get your skills and talents on board. Otherwise, they'd risk losing you. And for you, you'll be happy and satisfied there longer if you feel like you're being well compensated for what you're contributing and bringing to the role, right? So I'd encourage you throughout this process to approach it with curiosity, not confrontation, right? So the lens that I find really useful to look through is you're curious, whether there's room in the salary number, if there's wiggle room there, if there's an opportunity for that to shift, right? It's not a confrontation, give me more now, right? So approaching it like a dance, I find really useful. Also, just in terms of scene setting to make a negotiation go well, expressing gratitude in an authentic way that whatever it might be for you, whether it's, gratitude at being extended an offer, gratitude for your counterpart taking the time to sit down with you to answer your questions and negotiate with you, or gratitude that for being able to work in this firm for as long as you have, or with the caliber of people that you've been able to work with, whatever it is that's relevant and authentic for you, starting with gratitude is a really nice way to kind of warm up the situation and extend the olive branch and show, this is not going to be a confrontation. This is not a war. This is a curious conversation we're going to have to see if we can come up with an arrangement that works well for both parties. Okay. So that's a little bit of scene setting for you. I'd encourage you, I mentioned before, doing all your research in advance. In addition to salary research, also have your facts straight, right? In terms of you and the value you bring, okay? Your strengths, your talents, your qualifications, how you're different from the competition, the achievements that and contributions you've made, whether in this organization, if it's an internal negotiation you're having with your boss, or if it's past skills that you're bringing to a potential new employer. Arm yourself with that, right? Because that's what is going to support you in making your case, making a strong case, right? That you've got all this value to offer, right? So that should hopefully help you with confidence, and also help you in the moment when you need to provide a little bit of reinforcement for your points that, hey, I'm bringing this value. What is that worth, right? I'd say as well, a little bit of context, anything that you discuss, whether it's over the phone or in person, whatever, sometimes people even negotiate via email, that's possible as well. So whatever works for you in the situation that you're in. Ultimately, when you come to an agreement, get it in writing, okay? I can't tell you how many times I've sadly heard from people that, oh, we shook hands on this. We had agreed in that conversation months ago that this was going to be the case, that my salary was going to shift this much, or this bonus was going to kick in, or whatever. But then that time rolls around, situations change, nothing's written down, and you don't have a leg to stand on in terms of getting what was promised to you. So once you come to an agreement, get that in writing, whether it's an updated contract or you sending an email after the conversation, hey, just wanted to confirm this is what we agreed. Can you just reply back and let me know that we're both on the same page? So that way you have some kind of a record that this agreement happened. Get it in writing, really important. Okay. I also want to mention that being aware of the culture that you're in and the context, that's really important. Perhaps the first case study I'll just share with you is my experience with my very own first negotiation. Early in my career, I was straight out of university. I had been extended an offer from a German engineering firm to head over there and start my career. And I had been armed with the information that in the U.S. system, you negotiate for your salary and your job contract, right? Stuff's not freely given to you. So I came to my German negotiation with this laundry list of things that I was going to ask for to be included in my contract. And I warn you, this is not best practice at all, but I'm just going to share with you to allay any fears you might have about how poorly a negotiation might go. I'll just share with you kind of what my experience was like there. And I did get the job, by the way, in case you're worried. But I went in there to this negotiation and I asked, is it possible for me to get a higher salary? And they said, no, everybody who starts in our trainee program starts with the same salary. I said, oh, okay. I looked down at my sheet. I was like, can I get a bonus? Well, we've already given you a 2K bonus. Oh, okay. Can I have more holidays? I said, well, you're getting 6 weeks under the German system. So how much more do you want? I was like, oh, no, what would I do with more holidays? Okay, no. It's like, what about healthcare? And they're like, well, the German government provides that everybody's insured. I was like, oh, okay, so this is completely naive of me. I did not know the differences between like the US system and the German system going in there, but I went down my laundry list and I finally, I just got to the point where, I had extended all my options. I was like, can we do stock options? No, we don't do that here. Okay. So I was just trying, to see what would happen, and, really inelegant and all, but they did end up doubling my bonus, my signing bonus, which was really nice for a university student with all sorts of outstanding student loans. that was nice support for me getting set up while in a new country. So I share that just to be provide kind of an example of how it can go. They did not revoke my my contract because I stumbled through this negotiation in this way. So really, I hope that you have no fear undertaking your own, right? Even if it's not perfect the first time, which it won't be. These things take practice. You still might end up walking away with something, right? You don't ask, you don't get. So that's my first example to you. Just building on that. So yes, well, I'm going to focus mostly on salary scripts in just a moment and salary case studies. If you aren't aware, there's so many more things, again, culturally dependent and context dependent, but so many more things you can be negotiating, right? Your annual leave, the holidays that you get, vacation days, your bonus, whether it's a signing bonus or an annual bonus or a performance bonus or anything like that, can be great. If they don't want to budge on salary, then, a bonus can be like a one-off kind of a thing that's more contained for them if they're worried about ongoing cash flow in a startup, say. Your job title. If there's a tweak you want to make to that, that's going to help you further career steps down the line, maybe that's useful to negotiate that. Depending on the role, you might want to negotiate parking or a company car. Maybe it's a mobile phone of a certain sort or a certain type of laptop. Maybe you want flexible working arrangements to work particular days or hours. Maybe you want maybe the company's asking you to move someplace and you want to look for relocation assistance for yourself, for your family, temporary housing, cultural assistance, language lessons, assistance setting up a bank account in your new environment, maybe tax assistance, maybe childcare, maybe even your start date. Maybe you want to take some time off between the role that you're in now and the role that you're starting in. So you want to negotiate that date. That's another option. Professional development, another great option to take advantage of. Maybe even conferences, if there's something relevant for your industry and you want to get those sponsored. If there are particular publications relevant to your job that you subscribe to, or membership fees or dues, or particular certifications that you need to keep up. Maybe it's an opportunity for you at the start to negotiate that your company is going to cover those fees for you to make sure that you keep the certifications that you need to do your role. The other thing I wanted to mention is review period. So even if you can't get a shift in the salary in your initial negotiation, what you might be able to do is to ask for an accelerated review period. So say if you agree to come on board with X salary, could you, instead of waiting for the next annual review, could you in 3 months' time have the chance to sit down with your boss and have a conversation about reassessing your salary based on your performance over those first 90 to 100 days. So that could be another option if you get a no on the salary, to ask about an accelerated review period. So those are just some options to broaden your mind about what else you could be negotiating for, even beyond salary. Now I'd love to just dive in and give you some scripts and share some case studies of actual situations that people have been in, and myself and others that I've worked with. And hopefully this will help you feel more prepared for your situations. So let's say you're in a situation where you're in your existing company and you want to ask for a pay raise. Okay. Now, I highly recommend that you investigate your organization's pay cycles and what those review processes are like, because oftentimes when you sit down to have that actual performance review, the salary decisions were made months before that. So it's a bit too late when you sit down with your boss for that performance review discussion. So find out what those cycles look like and make sure that you're having the conversations early enough that you can get your request in prior to those new numbers. So let's say you're sitting down with your boss and you're going to ask for a pay raise, and you might say something like, well, based on my research, the salary for this position in this industry or this area is between 60 and 70K. What can we do to bring my salary closer to the market rate? So obviously you have to have done your research beforehand, but that's something that you could say in that situation. Now, if you are met with a no, remember this is a dance. A no doesn't stop the music. A no just means, okay, we have to pivot here. Okay, so if you were met with a no in that situation, you could say something like, okay, well, what would I need to do in order to be able to earn X amount? And what I would highly encourage in that situation is that you and your boss have a discussion about the specific metrics that you would need to deliver, that you would need to meet in order for your salary number to shift. And what you do is that as you're having that discussion, you make notes, you create a specific little chart for yourself that says, okay, if I achieve these things, this is the change in salary we're agreeing to. And then you have this document that you and your boss have both agreed to that you will then come back to once you've achieved those things and say, okay, now I've done X, Y, Z. As we previously discussed, I'd love to talk about salary. Now that I've achieved these things, what do you say? So that arms you with a concrete tool to be able to re-enter that negotiation process once you've reached the agreed targets, right? So that's another way that you could respond in the moment. If you were met with a no, okay, then let's be specific about what it would take to get me to that salary level that I want to be at, right? Let's say, this can often happen with headhunters and recruiters. Let's say you're in a situation where a recruiter is trying to pressure you into revealing your current salary before you go further in this job application process. Now, my general advice to you would be do not reveal your current salary. It's not relevant and it's nobody's business. If you are met with a retort such as, you know, we need to know that we're in the same ballpark, then that's your opportunity to get in there and change the tables and say, well, you know, what's the salary range for this role, right? And if they won't give you a number, then, you know, you've pointed out to them, hey, you know, I'm not going to reveal. If you're not going to reveal, then, you know, what are we doing here? So let's say, I'll give you a few other options for how to handle this, because you can feel really under pressure sometimes with recruiters harping on about it. You might be able to say something like, unfortunately, I know I'm currently underpaid, or my current role has completely different responsibilities from the role that I'm applying for here, as you know. So I don't see how my revealing my current salary would be relevant. Or you might say, based on my research, I think a salary of between 80 and 100K is pretty average. What was the salary that you had, the salary band that you had for this role? So again, pushing back and saying, look, you can give me something if you want me to indicate if we're in the right ballpark or not, right? Another technique, and I add some caution around using this, or another script rather that you could use, a little bit of caution, is just that you're going to have to anchor high if you're going to say this, but you could respond by saying, in my next role, I'm hoping to earn 120K. Now, like I say, if you're going to be the one who throws a number out first, make sure you know that you're aiming high, on the high end of the salary band that you'd expect, or even a little bit higher beyond that. If you anchor low with your first number, then that anchor, that first number that gets thrown out, determines where high or low determines what you're going to be negotiating around, right? So if you're going to say something like that, make sure the number's high. Okay. My favorite way to respond to this kind of request for information, though, request for your current salary, is to just say something like, I'd love to learn more about the role and the responsibilities that it's going to entail before we discuss salary. I'm sure that once we get to that point, if we both agree that I'm the right person for the role, I'm sure we'll be able to come to an agreement. I'm confident that we'll be able to reach an agreement then. Something like that shows, look, this is a little bit early in the process. why don't we just find out if actually I want this role, if I'm the right person for it, if you want me, let's go through those things first before we, talk numbers, okay? Just another idea that just occurred to me is you might also say something like, well, why don't you, to the recruiter, why don't you let me know what the salary is that you have set aside for this position, and I'll let you know if you're in the right ballpark, right? So that's another kind of confident way to be able to push back and try to get a number out of them first, okay? I'd love to also give you, now switching a little bit to the moment when you are first given a contract, I highly recommend, even if you get pressure in that moment, if somebody makes you an offer, even verbally, I'd push you to get it in writing. Ask, well, that's great. I'm so excited. Thank you for this opportunity. When might I be able to see the contract in writing? So that I have a chance to review all the specifics, right? So ask for that contract. Once you get that, then, again, expressing gratitude. I'm so excited about this opportunity. Thank you so much. Is it all right if I come back to you on, take some time to review it over the weekend and come back to you on Monday with my response, or to ask any questions that I might have, right? Buy yourself some time, give yourself some space so that you can review the documentation, formulate your plan for what it is that you want to try to negotiate and ask for. That's absolutely within your right to do, okay? Now, let's say it is Monday now, the time's rolled around, and you're going to be sitting down for the contract negotiation. So think strategically and about what works best for you and your confidence in this and your relationship with the hiring manager. Do you want to, is this something that you want to engage with over the phone? Do you want to arrange a sit-down meeting? Do you want to do it over email? So choose your approach. Typically, what I've ended up doing is either in person or phone. I find that works really well to be able to judge kind of where the other person is at and how they're responding to my inquiries. But I'd start by saying something like, I have a few questions about the contract. Is now a good time to discuss? Or could we arrange time to meet and discuss? And sometimes they might just respond and say, oh no, let's just handle it over the phone. Sometimes they might say, yes, okay, let's arrange a time to meet. But that's kind of my first opener. Then again, I go back with the gratitude, regardless of how we're meeting, to express, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really excited. So then you indicate to them, I'm looking forward to coming on board, right? So everything I'm about to ask is just about helping me come on board, right? So you might say, like, I'm really excited about the prospect of joining, and I just wanted to run a few things by you. And then you enter into making your asks. So around the salary in particular, you might say, well, the offer of 100K is fair, based on fill in the blank, my experience, my skills, the market rates, my salary research that I've done. I believe that a rate of 110K would more accurately reflect the value that I could bring to this role, right? That's one way that you could broach the topic of salary right at the start. A couple of case studies I'd love to share, just in case you're ever in a situation where recruiters pressured you and you've revealed a number early that you later on wish that you hadn't. So in this one situation, someone was just received an out of the blue phone call from a headhunter saying, hey, if I've got this role here, how, in order for you to be interested in it, what would you need to be making? And this person just threw out a number without having done any research, just in the moment, just kind of came up with something and threw it out there. But later on, after having gone through the interview process and then found themselves with this offer in their hands that was the exact number that they had given out, they were feeling, oh, darn, I wish I had asked for more. Like, I'm not satisfied with this number now that I know everything the role entails and all. And so my advice in that situation was simply to go back and acknowledge that you had thrown this number out, but that was before you had all this information about what the role actually entailed, what the responsibilities were, and so forth. And based on what you know now, you believe that a salary of X would be more appropriate. Is there anything that they can do to modify that? So that's a way that you can recover from having dropped a number that was too low at the beginning, right? Again, always encourage you to anchor high, but in a situation where that boat has sailed, that's what you might be able to do. I'd also like to just talk about the tactic of having multiple offers on the table at the same time, because this has been so powerful for so many people. It's especially if you're in a role currently and you're trying to negotiate a pay raise and you're just not getting anywhere, and you'd love to stay there, but it's just you're really feeling stymied, in your salary growth. Then getting an outside offer, it can be useful for accelerating that process. So getting an offer from a competitor that's at a higher rate is then a concrete thing that you can bring to your boss and say, hey boss, I really want to stay here. But as you know, I've been asking about having my salary modified, and I haven't been able to get anywhere. This company's made me this offer. Is there anything that you could do to match it? That can be a really powerful argument, because then you've got this other option you can walk out the door with. So people can feel a little bit more pressure to engage with you then. Even if you're looking at leaving wherever you are currently and going outside, even having multiple offers that you can compare puts you in a very strong negotiating position, because then you have choices, but then also you can go to your favored option if they haven't made you the offer that you like, and say, hey, look, competitor X down the road is offering me this. Is there anything that you could do to match it? That's another way that you can ask for more in that kind of situation. I suppose that reminds me of the importance too, when you're negotiating. You've probably heard the term BATNA before, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Always having at least one other option, if not more, to, just in case the negotiation doesn't work, right? What is your walk away? When are you, you will never be more powerful in negotiation than when you feel like you can walk away from it, right? If your terms aren't met. I've seen this in an example where a person who was negotiating contracted rates, right? And they had asked for a raise in their contracted rates. The boss was adamant, even though they'd been there for an extended period of time, that nope, no movement was possible. And so this person just said, okay, I understand. Unfortunately, then I'm going to have to be leaving at the end of my contract. Do let me know whatever I can do to make the handover process, to support the handover process to my successor. And because that person was empowered to be able to walk away, that put the pressure on their boss to go back to their boss and say, is there anything we can do? Can we get more money for this person? Yes, in fact, they could. And they came back to the table with an increased offer. But that offer would never have come out if that person had not been able to walk away, right? So having a BATNA, having an alternative to your negotiated agreement, being clear about what they need to say yes to, that will keep you there, and what if they say no to, you will be walking away from, is really important. So whether it's having another job to walk away to, or staying in your current role, or being willing to forego employment for a period of time to continue your job search, having an option will really empower you during the negotiation process. Okay. He who wants it more will have less power. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. I think those are my main stories that I wanted to share. I think kind of some of the main situations that you might find yourself in. So I hope you found that useful. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But if you do have a goal for this year of earning more, then hopefully you'll feel well prepared to go into those discussions and those negotiations. So all the best to you, and I'll see you again soon in another video. Bye-bye.